All right, so you've brought us a story about the Lamborghini Miura, and I gotta say,
Yeah.
good choice. This is a car that still makes headlines today,
Right.
and for good reason.
Yeah.
Even if someone doesn't know a thing about cars, they've probably, I'd say, felt the pull of the Miura's legend.
For sure.
And get this, we're about to dive deep into what made it such a game changer.
Yeah.
Not just some, flashy ride for the rich and famous.
Absolutely.
So,
What's so fascinating about the Miura is that it wasn't just a pretty face.
right.
It represented a major turning point in supercar design.
Okay.
The Miura basically threw out the rule book and said, we're doing things differently.
I love that.
Okay.
Okay, so our listener's article, it drops us right into the excitement of the 1966 Geneva Motor Show. Picture this. Crowds are buzzing. Anticipation is high.
Yeah.
And then, boom, the Lamborghini Miura takes center stage and just blows everyone away.
It must have been quite the spectacle.
Yeah.
And to think the genius behind that design was Marcello Gandini,
Yeah.
who was only 27 years old at the time. Talk about making a splash.
It's mind-blowing, right? And the design itself,
Yeah.
pure art. Imagine a car as sleek as a panther,
Right.
barely over a meter tall. It practically screamed speed and sophistication,
Totally. Yeah.
like something straight out of a James Bond film.
Absolutely. And that revolutionary mid-engine layout.
Yeah.
You have to remember that this was practically unheard of in a road car back then.
Right.
Most sports cars at the time still had their engines up front.
Right. And speaking of the engine, they didn't hold back there either.
Right.
They took a powerful V12, the kind they put in their 350 GT,
Yeah.
refined it, and dropped it right behind the driver.
Wow.
This thing could hit a top speed of almost 175 miles per hour
Yeah.
in 1966.
It was practically unheard of.
Right.
That kind of speed was reserved for race cars,
Wow.
not something you could just hop in and drive on the open road.
Right.
It completely changed what people thought a car could do.
So it wasn't just beautiful, it was a beast.
It was.
And that combination, the jaw-dropping design and that incredible performance.
Yeah,
I bet that's what really set the world on fire.
it did.
It's what made the Miura a legend.
Absolutely. And that leads us to the next fascinating aspect of the Miura story, its impact on car design.
Okay.
Because that mid-engine layout wasn't just a technical feat,
Right.
it fundamentally changed how supercars were designed from that point forward.
Yeah.
It was a defining moment, and even today you can see the Miura's DNA in many modern supercars.
It really is amazing to think about how ahead of its time the Miura was.
It was.
But it wasn't just about the tech, right?
Right.
This car had serious star power, too.
Oh, yeah.
Our listener's article mentioned people putting down money for the Miura
Yeah.
before they even saw it in person.
It's true.
Can you imagine?
The allure of the Miura was undeniable.
Wow.
It became a symbol of success, of unconventionality. When you saw a Miura, you knew you were looking at something special.
Right.
And of course, it didn't hurt that some of its most famous owners were cultural icons themselves.
Oh, yeah. We're talking about folks like rocker Johnny Hallyday,
Yeah.
the Shah of Iran.
Mhm.
Even Miles Davis had a Miura.
Of course, Miles
It
Davis.
was like the car for people who lived life on their own terms.
Exactly. It wasn't just a car, it was a statement.
Right.
But it's interesting because for all its glamour and celebrity appeal,
Yeah.
the Miura wasn't exactly known for being easy to handle.
Really?
In fact, it was notoriously challenging to drive, even for experienced drivers.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
A supercar that's hard to drive?
Well, yeah.
You'd think they would have figured that part out, right?
Or the same mid-engine layout that made it so revolutionary also made it a bit temperamental.
Okay.
It gave the car a unique weight distribution.
Okay.
And without getting too technical, let's just say it required a certain finesse behind the wheel.
So not exactly a car for a Sunday drive with the family then.
I wouldn't say so, no.
What kind of challenges are we talking about?
Well, for starters, no power steering.
Oh, wow.
So maneuvering that thing, especially at low speeds, took some real muscle.
Yeah.
Then there was the ride itself.
Oh, okay.
Let's just say the Miura wasn't known for its smooth ride.
Right.
It was stiff, unforgiving.
Ouch. Sounds like you really had to want to tame this beast.
You could say that.
But-
And then there was the matter of handling at high speeds,
right.
that unique weight distribution I mentioned.
Yeah.
Let's just say it could make for some, shall we say, exciting moments if you weren't careful.
I bet. So this was a car that demanded respect.
Very much so.
You couldn't just hop in and expect it to behave like a regular car.
Exactly. But I think that's part of what makes the Miura so fascinating. It wasn't for everyone. It was a car for skilled drivers, for daredevils,
Yeah.
for people who wanted a challenge.
Right.
It was a car that made you work for it.
Wow.
But when you got it right, the experience was like nothing else.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a car, it was an experience.
Exactly.
You had to earn the right to say you could handle a Miura.
Precisely. And speaking of pushing boundaries,
Okay.
Lamborghini wasn't content to just rest on their laurels.
Right.
The Miura evolved over the years.
Right.
Each iteration becoming more refined, more powerful.
Right. Like the Miura P400 SV, which I think is the one most people picture when they hear Miura.
It is, yeah.
That was the peak, wasn't it?
It certainly was something.
Yep.
Introduced in '71,
Right.
the SV was the ultimate expression of the Miura's potential.
Yeah.
They squeezed out even more power, improved the handling, gave it wider tires.
Yeah.
It's the one that most collectors would give their left kidney for.
And then there are the rare ones, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like the Miura Roadster. They only ever made one of those.
It's true.
Wow.
A one-of-a-kind beauty.
Right.
And there was also the Miura Jota,
Right.
which was basically a race car disguised as a road car.
Oh, wow.
It was a testament to Lamborghini's dedication to pushing the limits of performance.
It's amazing that they kept experimenting,
They did.
trying new things.
Yeah.
It really shows how dedicated they were to making the Miura something truly special.
It does.
But I guess all that innovation, all that exclusivity,
Mm-hmm.
it comes with a price tag, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And in the case of the Miura, it's a hefty one.
Yeah. Our listener's article mentioned something like 1.2 million euros
Right.
just for a decent one.
At least.
And that's before you even get to the upkeep.
Yes, the upkeep.
Right.
That's a whole other story.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Okay.
What kind of commitment are we talking about for someone lucky enough to own one of these beauties today?
Well, owning a Miura is not like owning a regular car.
It really does sound like a full-time commitment.
It can be, yeah.
Wow.
But for the true enthusiast,
Right.
it's worth every bit of effort.
Yeah.
Our listener's article dives into some of the finer points of Miura ownership.
Okay.
And let's just say
Yeah.
it's not for the mechanically disinclined.
So more than just your average oil change and tire rotation then.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
We're talking about regular carburetor adjustments.
Yeah.
And with 4 Weber double-barrel carbs,
Yeah.
that's 2 carburetors per cylinder bank, by the way.
Wow.
Getting them perfectly synced is a delicate process.
Right.
It takes a true artisan with a wrench to get it right.
Hold on, back up a bit.
Okay.
For those of us who aren't mechanics,
Yeah.
what exactly happens when these carburetor needles get stuck?
Okay.
What even are carburetor needles?
You're right.
Right.
Got a little carried away with the technical stuff there.
Yeah.
So carburetor needles control the flow of fuel into the engine.
Okay.
Think of it like a tiny valve.
Right.
Now, in the Miura, these needles have a tendency to sometimes get stuck,
Okay.
especially after the car's been sitting for a while.
Okay. And what happens when they get stuck?
Well, it can lead to a bit of a fuel leak
Okay.
and by a potentially significant one.
Oh, no. Doesn't sound good.
It's not, no.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider that a hot exhaust plus a whole lot of spilled gasoline can equal.
Right.
Well, let's just say it's not a good combination.
So that's why the article mentioned Miuras and fire hazards.
Let's just say that owning a Miura means being very, very aware of potential fire risks.
I see.
It's not something to take lightly.
Right.
The Miura demands respect.
Yeah.
Not just for its performance, but for its quirks, too.
Wow. So this isn't just a car. It's a lifestyle.
It is, yeah.
It's like having a high-maintenance friend, but instead of late-night texts, it's demanding engine rebuilds.
That's a pretty accurate analogy. I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
But, for many owners, that's all part of the charm. It's a connection to a bygone era of automotive craftsmanship.
Right.
When cars were more than just machines.
Right.
They were works of art full of personality and quirks.
It's amazing to think that even after all these years, the Miura still has this incredible power to fascinate.
It does.
It's more than just a car. It's a symbol
Yeah.
of an era, a statement of style,
Yeah.
and a testament to the audacity of Italian design.
Beautifully said.
Right.
It's a car that captures the imagination.
Yeah.
Makes you dream.
It does. So for you, dear listener, here's something to ponder.
Okay.
Knowing what we know now about the Miura,
Right.
its beauty, its power,
Yeah.
but also its challenges.
Yeah.
Would you take on the responsibility of owning one?
Right.
Or is its beauty best admired from afar? Maybe through the pages of a magazine or on a poster on your wall. It's a tough call.
It certainly is.
Right.
Whatever you decide, there's no denying the Lamborghini Miura's rightful place in automotive history.
Absolutely. And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into the iconic Lamborghini Miura.
Okay.
Until next time, keep those engines revving.